Welcome everyone to the March episode of not Breaking Monero. I just have it now of the Coffee Chat. We're pleased to have you on here for this really special edition where we expect to have the Monero network upgrade during the Coffee Chat. So hopefully this won't be a 6-hour long episode, but we'll see. We have a good number of people on. We have a few others popping in and out as they're fixing connection issues and other sort of things. But I'm on as Justin. Hope you're all happy to see me again. We have Sarang. Sarang's joining us from mobile. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm reporting live from a bike workshop, so I'll try to keep muted as often as possible.
Excellent. Awesome. And then we also have Ziago here.
Hey, everyone.
It's great to see you again. And then we have Jeremy here, Binary Fate.
Hello.
And then Need Money 90, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. I just switched over to Chromium as opposed to Firefox. Let's hope this works.
Yeah. For some reason,
yeah,
Jitsi...
I might do the same thing, you know. I still have issue as well.
Jitsi definitely works a little bit better with Chrome compared to Firefox, unfortunately, which is why I normally have like half Chrome,
I've been
half
trying
Firefox.
to make the switch to Firefox like just almost entirely, and there's a couple things that work way better in Chrome, and it sucks.
Yeah, the biggest things for me are Jitsi and casting. But
browser,
I know we're getting totally off the related things. But one thing that really helped me commit to the switch to Firefox from Chrome are the container tabs. You can enable an extension, and each tab can basically be its own incognito instance. It works really, really well. So I can be logged into like 6 different accounts at once in one window. I don't think I could ever go back to Chrome after using that feature. But again, thanks for joining us to those who are available in watching on YouTube. Make sure to ask us questions, and we'll be sure to get to those and everything. Howard's going to be popping in and out. I think Binary Fate is going to be doing the same. But let's start first talking about the Monero network upgrade. Let me see real quick. I can refresh the official countdown page. 58 minutes, according to community.xmr.2, and xmr.noctism is saying the same thing. So, but less than an hour, hopefully, before the upgrade goes live. Would anybody else? Let's see. Binary Fate or Need Money, can you walk us through some of the big upgrades that people are seeing with the most recent update here? Apparently.
Yeah, wait 1 second. The Monero Coffee Chat on YouTube, is it working right now? Because I cannot see the link in my browser.
Yes, it is working. Let me grab. I can.
Yeah, I'm on the chat right now.
Okay, cool. Then it's just my browser.
So, Need Money, can you walk us through the big updates that are happening today? In an hour.
Yeah, okay. So we're having a proof of work update, which is going to be forking the ASICs that were on the network off of the network. Some updates to Ledger. I believe we have some. Is striping in this update for blockchain pruning?
That comes with ODAT 14.1, so it's in master next release.
Let me go pull up the thread so I have an actual comprehensive list as opposed to relying on memory. Let's see. Where's the CLI update thread? Somebody else fill in for me until I find this.
Okay. So I'll cover for you for some of the big updates. So the proof of work algorithm is changing again to another crypto night variant, which means that if you have miners right now that are mining Monero, you should, well, first of all, you should keep this on, but you should immediately go and upgrade your miners, because they will not work in an hour. They will just not work. So you need to upgrade them. There is an upgrade thread on the Monero mining subreddit that covers covers a software that is upgraded to support the latest algorithm and walks you through a basic steps. Tells you some of the pools that have upgraded too. So you certainly should get on that. Also, there's a slightly different way of conducting the bulletproof transactions. So they are a little bit smaller. They're a little bit more efficient too. But that required a consensus change. So those have gone out.
Yeah.
Sarang, did those required a consensus change, correct?
Well, technically, bulletproofs didn't change, but the way that we compute and transmit information in the Peterson commitments was basically made a little bit smaller and a little bit more efficient. So there are that's a consensus change. There are some other bulletproofs verification updates that are non-consensus that'll be included in a later point release too.
Excellent.
We also have a new block weight algo that got added to address the issue Isthmus and I were initially looking into, which involved what he referred to as a Big Bang attack, which was a rapid expansion of the blockchain size via pushing the block weight higher and higher and higher.
Yes.
Or sorry, the block size. So that was a pretty big change. It's good that that's actually getting fixed very soon.
And Need Money, can you talk a little bit more about sort of the initial research that you and Isthmus and the Nonsensus Research Lab put into the initial look at blockchain size? And then Sarang, you can kind of pick it up from there to talk about how the implementations were discussed.
So initially, just Monero grows in an exponential manner for the block sizes, though I didn't realize that there was actually a block size cap that was enabled. I forget what it was, but it was actually in the code.
I think it's 1 gigabyte.
What?
I think it's 1 gigabyte.
Yeah, it was something absurd, but we did actually have a block size cap. So the growth of the blockchain is based off of the median of the last 200 blocks, I believe. Somebody can, maybe 400?
100.
It's 100 now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we take a median of the last number of blocks of size, and based off of that median, use that to determine the upper bound, which is 2x the median. And you are only ever, the closer you get to that upper bound, the more that you pay in fee. And because the way that the upper bound was calculated is double the median, it actually grew exponentially. As the size of the number grew, the size that it could grow grew. And yeah, basically I looked at that and just wondered how long it would take until the blockchain exploded in size and somebody was making massive blocks that they could pay very little to actually fill up. Because once the blocks have been grown, you can keep putting transactions in them at the same cost that they are now. There's no additional cost. And Isthmus did some research, and I think his initial things came out at some silly low number, like 3 days. I think it was actually a bit longer, and there was something wrong with the simulation. I'm going to have to go back. Sarang can go and read more on it. But it allowed the sizes to get up pretty high really quickly.
Yeah, and in fact, and we have some code out that can show you, let you put in parameters, with the, the budget that an attacker might have, or the amount of time that you'd want them to run a maximum bloat attack. And, once you basically hit, 24 hours or so on the order of a day of doing this attack, blocks rise to the size that, certain, I could imagine that some clients would not be able to verify them in time. So things start getting absurd, and you can start bloating the blockchain pretty badly. Hence the new algorithm.
There's something to do with how the fees are calculated, right? Where you pay, it's almost like a linear one-time fee to increase the block size. And as long as you keep those blocks full, you don't have to continue paying that fee unless you want to continue to increase the block size. So once you get the median block size large enough over a long enough period of time, the fee to continue to bloat the chain is basically zero. You've already paid the cost to increase the median. So part of this change has to do with like the fee structure on, if I'm understanding correctly.
Yeah, so essentially the way that the new algorithm works, roughly speaking, is that it effectively enforces kind of a short-term median and also a much longer-term median, which is on the order of several months. So, the short-term median is on the order of, about 100 blocks, which is, a few hours maybe, which is why the bloat attack would work right now. with an attacker that had enough time and enough money. But the new scheme basically enforces 2 medians, and it basically works out part of the block's computed weight being kind of a short-term block weight and part of it being kind of a long-term block weight. And so effectively what it does is, it still allows for long-term growth, which is important. And it still allows for short-term spikes in growth too. But the idea is to kind of cap the way that growth can happen based on kind of some empirical parameters that are fairly arbitrary, but you can look at the way that real fiat networks like the Visa network is a classical example. You can look at how those tend to spike over around Christmas Day. I want to say there's something like a 30x increase at like Visa's peak, they claim. So our goal is to allow for short-term peaks, but at the same time not allowing those to allow like bloat to happen at an extremely rapid rate very cheaply.
All right, thank you for those quick discussions on what Monero is doing to have a more sensible attack-resistant approach to be able to accommodate large peaks while also being more, while also providing better prevention against attacks. Goodness, sorry.
Resistance to bloating attacks. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So, HYC, you said that you're back on a better network. You're muted though. Can you quickly unmute yourself and just say hi to everybody?
Oh, hello there. Am I here?
You are here.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks again for joining us. So we covered a lot of the basics of what is happening with Monero's upgrade. We covered some of the consensus things, but we did not really yet cover some of the wallet usability phase things. So there's a lot of things that happen there with the GUI 0.14 update, which you should download right now. One of the big things was a Windows installer. Was anyone here a part of helping put together the Windows installer? Okay, so one cool thing with the latest update is you can optionally download an installer version where you can get a nice little icon in Windows where you can click the Windows button, type in Monero, and launch your wallet from there. So it works more similar to another program that people would have. So I thought that was pretty cool. And also, there's also a simple mode in the GUI that allows people who are trying to use Monero without being experts in it or anything to have a much better experience with the GUI. And that way, the GUI can serve 2 purposes. It can help those that are first getting started with Monero, and it can help people who are already experts and want to be able to make a lot of granular changes, specific changes in the GUI. So overall, there's a lot of great work that's been done with the Monero GUI this update. Almost every interface has been redesigned or tweaked in some way, so it's very interesting.
We've deprecated payment IDs. You need to actually flip a flag in the GUI now if you want to use those. That's a huge change.
Good point. So can you speak a little bit more about what users have to do if they want to send transactions with the payment ID to whether they're using the GUI or command line?
So I don't know for the command line, but there was a user in Telegram today that was having issues with sending money because they needed to send to an exchange that was still supporting the deprecated payment ID format with the new GUI. And so currently the process is to go into the advanced settings and click a button, tick a box that says enable this deprecated setting. So it's basically telling the user, this is going away, guys. Like you actually have to set this special flag. Exchanges are going to get bothered about it because users don't know how to do it, and it's going to push people to actually change away from the format. I think it was a pretty nicely designed annoyance.
And for the command line wallet, I just encountered the case myself. You have to launch the wallet with a special flag, which is like a long payment ID, I think. Otherwise, you simply can't send a transaction with a long payment ID at all. That forces you to launch it explicitly or to change your configuration file, but you can't just keep going as usual, which is great because that's the point. Make everyone realize that it's going away.
We should just have a wallet mode that's like, you shouldn't be doing this mode. Call it out for what it is. If you have any other fun
I don't
names,
know. I think having to manually enable each individual deprecated thing that you want to use is probably a good idea if we want to have staggered removal of those things.
Wait, so you're saying that people can still use payment IDs if they go about it in a technical way?
They have to go to the advanced settings and tick a box right now in order to do it. We haven't actually fully removed the ability to use payment IDs from the software. We are just heavily implying to users who want to send to exchanges that are using it that this is bad. And in fact, if exchanges want users to do it, they're going to have to go and tell them how to do it. Because users are going to be like, what do you mean send to a payment ID? I don't understand. There's no payment ID setting in my client. And the exchange is going to have to say, well, you have to go to this place where it says that it's deprecated and it's being removed soon. So that's, I think, probably going to force the exchanges to change their client at some point in the future. It's a well-built annoyance to force the exchanges to actually recognize that the change is deprecated.
It's interesting because the effect of that is it will effectively close off Monero deposits to most exchanges, as most exchanges that don't make this upgrade will require...
No, most have switched over. Most have switched over.
Okay.
Like there are very few exchanges right now that are still on the payment ID system, if I remember correctly.
Does Binance, last I checked, Binance still had a standalone payment ID.
Bittrex as well.
Okay. So hopefully, there certainly have been many discussions in the community about fully preventing payment IDs and transactions. But this current step where you have a wallet annoyance instead is one way where you have a sort of bottom-up approach where you try and encourage people to stop using these by making it hard to happen in certain wallet clients. And of course, the discussions on what to happen on the consensus layer are still occurring. Especially in relation. Need money 90 degrees. The consensus is happening. Yeah, if you ever have a chance to speak to support of an exchange, you really should encourage them every time you talk to them. Hey, by the way, you should use sub addresses. Hey, by the way, you should use sub addresses, and just keep annoying them. Because that's certainly the system that exchanges should be using, and few, if any, exchanges currently use sub addresses, but we want them to. Okay, any other, yeah, thanks again, Need Money, for bringing up the payment ID change. If you're a user that's sending a transaction that requires a payment ID and you do not see the field in your wallet, it doesn't mean that you don't need to include it. It means you have to manually tick that advanced option, and you really should contact that service to tell them to upgrade to no longer have that field.
So there's a couple other changes. One is unmixable outputs can be spent again. This isn't some of the just changes that I'm reading off of a post. And another was there's new event notifications for large block rate changes and blockchain reorganizations. A crash on exit that was fixed. Build fixes. We need to have the charlatan on here if he's willing to come on and talk about his work on reproducible builds. That would be pretty cool. Because once we have those, the build process is going to be able to be decentralized. Anybody's going to be able to just run the code, generate a binary, and have that binary have the same hash as the same binary that's generated on every system. That's big.
Are you aware? I know that this has been something that they have been working on for a long period of time. Are you aware of any recent changes that have sort of made its way into the Monero code base for this update?
No, I do not.
Okay. Yeah, just simplify this a little bit for the listener. It doesn't really affect how things work on your end. The wallet still will work the same way, but the process of getting everything together to get your fancy .exe or your fancy program will work the same way for everybody.
Well, it's about trust. Right now, you have to trust that some trusted entity has built the code that that everybody is seeing in the repository to specification, and currently that person is Fluffy. And this has been a significant holdup in a lot of our in our build process, because Fluffy actually has to go and get onto the build machines, download the latest code, and then run the build process for every single architecture, which takes a while on the trusted machines. And once those builds are created, the hash is considered sacred. Like we just have to trust that he hasn't put any malicious code into the thing unless somebody does a
Well, he disconnected. I'll finish his statement. Oh,
Hey,
Need Money, you're
where
back.
was I?
You're back.
Yeah.
You,
What happened?
You left as saying we have to trust the hash.
Yeah,
as
we
sacred.
have to trust the hash is sacred. We have to trust that Fluffy has not put any malicious code in there. Granted, we could check for that via decompilation. It's much more difficult than most people are willing to put in the effort for. But the moment that we have reproducible builds, you know that the code that's in the repository, the code that is running on your machine, if the hash matches. And that's in my opinion, a very big thing. It means that we don't have a reliance on any trusted individual to build our code and ensure that we have a binary without needing to build it ourselves.
I have a question. I saw recently in the news some of the NSA's reverse engineering tools. I think it's called like Gerda or something like that. It's like a dragon in a figure 8 eating its own tail kind of thing. It's supposedly like a reverse engineering open source tool. I don't have the expertise to use that, but maybe someone else in the Monero community does that could, just for the sake of argument, just reverse engineer one of these EXE builds, and that way you can prove to everyone else, hey, look, this matches with the code.
It's much easier as opposed to using something that would do a heuristic analysis and would that tool itself cannot detect malfeasance or where the bad code is, and in fact it wouldn't even, like when you regenerate code, the variable names aren't even proper. You would have like x plus 3 equals y, as opposed to block time plus 7 equals new block time, which makes it very difficult to analyze. I mean, I guess if you have a side-by-side with the code, but it's much easier to have a reproducible build, a deterministic build process where you know that the hash that results from it is the right hash. Like that's I think much more ideal than trying to do an analysis of the code every single time and argue just by exhaustion, oh, I am sure that this thing does not have malicious code because I've checked every single line of it. I don't know. That just seems a bit.
Yeah, I'm in support of reproducible builds. I think that's the right path.
Additionally to the trust aspect, that we basically are going to replace Fluffy Pony by replicating the same thing in a verifiable manner. There's also that it's just going to be so much more efficient to make new releases. Because right now, just in practice, the fact that we have to rely on him so much, and that it's such a large amount of work for him to get all the binaries for all the distributions and so on, takes quite some time. And for instance, just recently we had version 14 and then 14.0.1 and then 0.2. And that was a rapid successions also because we discovered that there was some bugs and so on. But the time it takes to produce a new release influence a lot what we can actually manage to squeeze in a version or not. Because we know we can't make a new release like overnight because it's going to be heavy, it's going to take time.
It takes 12 hours. It takes
yeah,
like
and we need Ricardo to
build
be there. It takes 12 hours if he's available, and it's just a single individual. So I think it will also influence a lot how we are actually releasing things and how we can also react to a bug being disclosed and so on. So in practice, I'm really looking forward to that.
So yeah, that's a little behind the scenes on the build process that most people don't understand why things take so long.
Yeah, it takes a while because we need one person to do it securely and then publish it in a way that actually is, but it's still untrusting of them.
Monero has a trusted setup.
trusted binary setup. Okay, so any other comments on the Monero upgrade? I'm sure we'll come wrap around back to this. Quick check on the countdown. It says that there is about 40 minutes left. So we'll probably talk about this at the end. But Any other updates before we move on to other topics? Okay, so let's start with Howard then. So Howard, can you give us a quick update on what is happening with a lot of the testing that went on with RandomX since the last time we spoke?
As far as I know now, RandomX is pretty close to final. We've been talking to the Monero project to get it running on their network. So yeah, we're at the point where I think Tevador is investigating integrating it into Monero D now.
Excellent. And so what did the testing since that big Reddit post came out reveal any small tweaks that needed to be made?
Oh, yeah, actually, a lot of people participated in the testing, which is really nice. We got a lot of performance test reports from a bunch of different hardware configs. That was pretty useful. Yeah, so S. Chernick also pointed out an optimization in the division instruction, and so that was changed. I think that's the only real tweak that happened between the last round of tests and present time.
Awesome. And so what would be required for the sort of audit process for you to feel more comfortable with RandomX being used in Monero? Can you walk us through what that timeline would look like?
Okay, well, right now, Tevador is finishing up an official spec, so a complete documentation of the algorithm. All right, so he's writing that up, and you know, we would hand that off to whoever we find to be auditors. You know, and then at that point, you know, they take the reference implementation, probably the one that we've integrated into Monero D, and you know, see that it actually conforms to the documentation first of all, and then the next thing is going to be, you know, looking for obvious flaws or weaknesses, such as, you know, weak hashes, compressing bits too many times to reduce entropy in the hashes being developed, that sort of thing. You know.
Awesome. And how does RandomX compare to other similar systems or systems with similar goals like ProgPow?
Well, okay, ProgPow is oriented specifically at GPUs, so it's highly parallel, and it's really focused on, you know, a lot of floating point operations, 32-bit floating points. RandomX is CPU oriented, so it doesn't go for high parallelism, but it does go for, you know, utilizing most of the components of a CPU. We estimate it uses about 80% of the functional blocks of a CPU. You know, the stuff that it doesn't use are like PCI Express interfaces and those sorts of things.
Okay, thanks, Howard. Is there anything else on RandomX that's happened since the last update that you think would be important to share with people?
Nothing comes to mind at the moment. You know, it's looking like it's in pretty stable form now. Oh, there is one further development, not specifically in RandomX, but there was another person in the community who did a, you know, a rough pass estimate of how well a GPU could perform on RandomX, and that turned out to be pretty useful. His numbers weren't, you know, directly on the mark, but they give us a ballpark estimate that shows, yes, GPUs could still execute RandomX. They would not be massively outperforming CPUs anymore, but they would still be competent.
That's good news for getting GPU miners on board with it, at least. They've been a significant block against the adoption of RandomX.
Yeah, I think that was a really important data point for us to have, you know, that just shows, yes, you know, we can do this on GPUs. It's still the case that, you know, none of the three of us focusing on RandomX have tried to build a GPU miner, although I think S. Chernick is working on that soon.
Welcome, Rivar.
Hey everybody,
Yes,
how's
welcome,
it going?
Diego. Thanks for joining us, Diego.
Sorry, I
Great
am
to
a
see you.
bit late.
Welcome, dude.
Was at the store and I got the message. I'm like, oh shoot, this is a thing, and I need to be there, but I need to get my groceries so I can eat. You know?
Well, it's good to have you here.
Yeah. Good to be here.
Groceries are good.
Eating is good. Surviving is good.
Okay, 19 blocks to go.
We're gonna have to let this run over. This show will end after the fork.
Yeah, I think I'll agree. We're 38 minutes left. It's going a little slow. So of course, if you need to, if you book
Guys,
an hour,
turn on your ASIC miners. We need this fork to happen sooner.
yeah, honestly, if you're watching right now, help us out. Make some ASICs for like another 30 minutes, and then just turn them on.
Oh, where's the countdown at?
You can use there's a few of them. There's xmr.noctism.com, and then there's community.xmr.2/xmr-countdown. I'll paste both of them in here in the YouTube chat for people. Because we're getting pretty close here. Let's see. So yeah, a lot of excitement going on. Thanks again, HYC, for the updates on the proof of work. I think it's great to hear that things are still progressing. It's great to hear that there's a priority on documentation so that people can really understand what's going on and can much better provide critiques for it. And I'm glad that we were able to get so many people to test out RandomX when it was proposed so that we can have a much better idea how things will function. And of course, that's good news for GPU miners too. So other miscellaneous topics. So the Italian government, so the Italian government has sort of, let me get the link pulled up, but there is they have a contest every year. They have the name escapes me at the moment. What's the name of the concept where you have like a quick coding session where people try to hack something together?
Hackathon.
Thank you. I was like thinking Hackfest. I'm like, that's not correct. Okay, so they're having a hackathon, and apparently as part of this, someone devised a Monero-based proof of concept that would work with voting for a specific.
Justin just cut out.
I can still hear you. Can everyone else still hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
looks like you reloaded.
Were you talking about a code sprint or what?
Let me get the actual article before I keep muttering nonsense. But it's a voting process where within their party, okay, I'll link it for everyone here. So first of all, here's a link for you all. It's a Twitter link, but there's Italian news articles posted in there. I'll paste this in the YouTube chat also. But sorry, I should have had this prepared. One of the political parties is experimenting with a voting system on a Monero-based blockchain. There's no expectation that it actually will be used. The details are pretty light. All we really know is that it is based on Monero, and the reasons that they are building it on Monero is for the sake of providing better privacy for users, since they don't want to know who can see who made what vote in what way. So I think it's pretty interesting. I think they're revealing details on Sunday, so all we can really do is speculate, which is why I think it's a good coffee chat topic for us to speculate about these things. But I think it's pretty interesting. In the past, Monero wrote up a long paste of what a voting system based on Monero could look like and what some of the considerations are. I think the most interesting one is that you need some way to issue keys to people to vote. So if it was like Monero right now, anyone can generate a ton of private keys by just pressing a button. And that doesn't really work well with the voting system because you need to make sure someone doesn't vote, 1,000,000 times. Right? They ideally should only vote once. So you need some person or some group to give keys to someone else. And that, of course, is a point of centralization. but it still might be better than or more transparent of a process than someone's database handling everything in the background. So I suppose a real nice basic question for people here, and feel free to jump in with any of your opinions. What do you think that blockchain under the right circumstances, especially a Monero-based system, or would have a high compatibility with these voting systems, or do you think this is something that really would never work in practice?
Go ahead.
Okay, I start. Personally, I'm not very optimistic that blockchain system with all their complexity are the right tool for voting, but I think a lot of their components can be used in a voting context. So I don't believe that you need a historical ledger of activity in order to organize the voting. But what you want, I think, is decentralization, in that you don't need to trust a single entity that could influence the vote. So you also want everyone to be able to verify the results. And what you want that is critical, and I think that's why they used some technology inspired by Monero, is privacy of everyone's votes. So the ability to verify the overall results, but the fact that nobody could actually point to what each individual is voting for, I think is key. And there is a lot to learn from blockchain-based system. But my guess, we will see when they will reveal more, but my guess is that it's not that much Monero inspired, but probably more ring signature inspired or something like that. So some aspects, some cryptography construction that is also used in Monero, but I don't believe that you need the entire system to support what they want to do, at least from what I got in the article.
Yeah, and we certainly would get we'll get more details on Sunday about what they're actually doing. I know that Ercicione, who leads the Monero localization work group, and Serhac, who is an Italian researcher who wrote Mastering Monero, they're both interested in what's going on. I think they're generally very pessimistic about an implementation of it, but they would be able to speak more directly to what is actually being built on that. So I would, if you want to stay updated with this, I certainly would still follow the Monero community IRC chat so that you can join these discussions, as they will happen tomorrow, most likely. Does anyone else have opinions on sort of what would be needed to have voting systems work with a blockchain, and what the benefits would be of this sort of system?
Does somebody else want to speak? Okay, I am with Binary Fate. I am not optimistic about this. It's important to remember that the blockchain is not an objective arbiter of truth, and this is commonly known as the Oracle problem, where if everybody says the sky is red and they say that on the blockchain, then the blockchain has no way of externally verifying that the sky is not red, it is in fact blue. According to the blockchain, so like the blockchain is it hosts a collective truth, but it doesn't host absolute truth necessarily. I mean, collective truth can be the same as absolute truth, assuming everyone tells the truth, but that may not necessarily be the same thing. And the reason this is important is because when let's say somebody is able to steal a private key or something and vote in my place, according to the blockchain, Diego has voted. Now, Diego has not voted, but according to the blockchain, Diego has. And there's nothing that I can really do unless I launch a fifth. I mean, I could desire to want to change that, but it's an immutable ledger. And it's my fault for losing my private key. So like I would have to launch a 51% attack on the whole blockchain. So that way I change my vote. So that way the blockchain will be a more accurate representation of truth. But in the process, I'm disrupting many other people's votes. And they would have to vote again. Now, this might be one of the only times where a 51% attack is a good thing, quote unquote, because I am making the blockchain more representative of actual truth rather than having lies on it that are collectively
just by the way,
believed.
this is one of the things that EOS purports to do. They utilize their BPs who go and decide on what the consensus to shift to is.
Right, and
if you're willing to go and sacrifice some degree of cede to some degree of centralization, you actually do get the ability to have a quote unquote 51% attack that's network sanctioned.
Right, but then it's up to those block producers to do that for me, to want to do that for me, to not be corrupt, etc. And it is somewhat more decentralized than some things are because there's 31 of them, but it's not completely decentralized. So there's the obvious trade-off there, where in exchange for some centralization in relationship to a blockchain, you're able to rectify those types of mistakes much more easily. But they don't use any sort of zero knowledge proofs. So, one thing that would be very interesting to see would be to see zero knowledge proofs being used. So that way I can prove to them, excuse me, that this is my vote on the blockchain and I want it changed to this without revealing who I am. So that way there's that semblance of anonymity that is so important in different types of elections. I am not. So yeah, just to reiterate, I am not optimistic about blockchain being used in such a way, being used for voting in particular. I think it's not a very good idea. There's just, especially because guarding your private keys is not something people are good at. And I think we would see a gigantic increase in voter fraud where people are able to successfully take other people's private keys and vote for them. And the world has not demonstrated competent key management in any way, shape, or form to be able to even remotely consider this as an option, in my opinion.
Ziago, your turn.
Thanks. Yeah, I think it's a good question. With a large portion of the world population using crypto doesn't utilize proper solutions for key management. And so if you're going to have a governance system based on key management, there's a lot of pitfalls that can happen there. Additionally, I think a good question to ask is who gets the right to vote? Does everyone get equal vote? I think it's a question that has multiple answers. And different groups of people are going to take different approaches to that question. So how?
I think he died.
Oh no!
Yeah, there you go.
First, I thought it was my end, so I wasn't saying anything. But
rest in peace.
That's a nice last picture, though.
I'm sure he'll join us in a second here. I can send him a quick message and we can proceed on it.
I wanted to add one thing on this topic, is that I'm really glad to see this these sort of initiatives, because I remember a few months ago, it was maybe 6 months ago, there was some noise coming from the European parliaments. Some members of the European parliaments were suggesting to actually forbid some cryptographic primitives as a way to forbid some cryptocurrencies that are privacy focused, as they call it. So instead of just banning Monero and Zcash, they would basically forbid the use of ring signatures. That would be an example how to make Monero illegal, as well as all the potential forks and so on. And so seeing these type of primitives being used in totally different systems for tools that are being used by totally different social circles and different parts of society is just, it basically puts many more people on our side if they were ever to pursue in that direction. I think it's we should encourage that.
I think at the minimum, it helps give legitimacy towards these projects to say, hey, I mean, this is a literal potential political party that is testing this out as a way to better reduce corruption for their voting. Like, even if it doesn't end up working out, which I think we mostly agree is the most likely circumstance, but it's still cool to talk about, hey, this is another use of the technology that could be implemented in this way and can really help us move forward, even if it's not adopted.
Yes. I wish it wasn't a populist party, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, for what it's worth, I know nothing about this Italian party, so I have no opinion on that. But I think it's just interesting to see that it's something that they've thrown together in some capacity. Whether it's sensible or not, again, is part of this discussion here. Ziago, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about as you disconnected there?
Yeah, I'm not sure where I left off, where it disconnected. I kept talking and I realized it was disconnected.
I already forgot.
Nah, it's okay. It's okay.
We were discussing. You were saying it was an open question whether people should have the same vote or not.
Oh yes.
Yeah, I think it's a controversial question because some people are very strong in their beliefs that everyone should have one-to-one equal vote, but many people don't seem to provide solutions for civil attacks and the social attack vectors that happen with disinformation campaigns. And so developing an effective strategy to build trust within a community for people is important in any sort of voting application, or whatever it is. Voting is the process of achieving group consensus and taking unified action, and that has a better chance of survival in an ecosystem than an individual acting alone. So being able to organize effectively is an important part of survival in any ecosystem for any group, and developing ways that voting process can happen without being corrupted is crucial to the survival of that species as well.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see how they handle that. I think, well, we'll certainly have more details on it tomorrow, so we'll see what happens. But it's certainly interesting to think about how you can have a key issuance that makes sense. One thing I think is pretty interesting, suppose you had someone vote on multiple initiatives with Monero, let's say proposal A through F, and you knew that someone with a certain political view generally votes in certain ways. I wonder if ring signatures would be able to provide good enough protection when you have thousands of people casting votes, potentially hundreds of thousands, millions, as you have, like, it's almost like a sort of attack where this account voted, or
No. You just use
accounts.
it as your ring every single member of the voting set.
Oh, okay. So we just have ring size 1 million.
Yeah, exactly. The thing is, that's why you don't want a blockchain system. You don't have to carry this data forever. It's just a one-off event that you're organizing, and you can very much afford to have very large ring signatures, which we can't in Monero.
And the argument of knowing somebody's political views so well that you can pick out who they are amongst those ring signatures is a channel attack. It's not actually an issue with the blockchain.
You know, if you make each vote a separate transaction, then you can't associate all of the votes together anyway.
Yeah, my intent was merely to say, like, one person votes for A, or they vote yes for 1, no for 2, yes for 3. I wonder if you can try and correlate things. Probably not likely, but I would like to. That's an open question I have, and how the implementation is made. I think that, I mean, ideally it shouldn't be a problem, but if you had people that constantly voted a certain way and pretty low ring sizes, that might be something you could do. Whether or not it's realized is probably unlikely with even Monero's current ring size. Okay, so any last comments on voting mechanisms? Well, yeah, I had a quick question that came in, and it asked, will Kovri come out or not? And we're not going to do like a full answer here or a full discussion here on Kovri and networking, but De Bruyne and I have been working on an announcement that we will make after this upgrade news goes out, where we will talk a little bit more about the status of Kovri and what options Monero has going forward for better network privacy. Note, though, that with the 0.14.1 update, which again is currently in master but not released to the masses yet, Monero will have the ability for you to use Tor and I2P manually, and then we can go from there to consider other options. But it's still certainly that it's still certainly something that is ongoing, and an announcement should be out within the next few weeks or so. Okay, so need money. I think. Well, a quick update on the time. There is about 26 minutes, so it seems like it keeps getting pushed back. So if you are joining us and have to leave, I totally understand. This is one's probably going to go over just for the sake of being live as the update happens. But need money. I know that you wanted to have a discussion about some Monero moderation and certain terms with relinking. Can you sort of introduce that for people here?
Yeah, so basically we have a concern on so I have a slight concern with r/Monero with a couple of websites that are basically promoting their own website. One would be Coin Whale News, where they take other people's articles, they link them on their website, and then they link to their own website on r/Monero, so that they get traction and exposure to their own website without actually doing any effort themselves. Like literally, they'll just put the link in. And a similar thing would be people who promote their own Twitter profiles by going and linking to announcements and stuff in Twitter, and then linking to Twitter. Just the whole concept of relinking as opposed to actually linking to the original source is a concern in my mind. I've had some conversations with DeBrun. He doesn't think it's as much of an issue for r/Monero as I do, but I am considering instituting a relinking rule in some of the subreddits, and I'm going to be creating a thread to actually gauge community sentiment towards that and discuss the pros and cons. But I personally can't see very much reason why you need to relink as opposed to linking the original. It prevents the ability for the filters to block reposts, and it's almost entirely promotional when it's done. I can't think of a valid reason, though. I'm all ears if somebody can think of something.
For what it's worth, I totally agree with you. You know, I hate all of these clickbait sites, and every time I see the same story being posted, you know, indirectly through a bunch of other sites, yeah, that's annoying. It's theft, right? It's not giving credit to the original author of whatever the story is, and you know, all this other stuff that goes with it. So yeah, I'd be happy to see that removed.
Yeah, and of course I will have to make a thread engage community sentiment, because while this might be a personal concern, maybe the rest of the community doesn't share it. But I do think that going forward, this might actually become more of an issue as people try to go and leverage the work of other people to promote their own materials. And that's, I mean, a significant part of it. It's not just that, but
I think I agree that it's annoying, but you're going down a rabbit hole if you try to define what is actual contribution, actual journalism, and what is just copy paste.
No, it's not copy paste. I'm talking about relinking. So like okay. I have a Twitter profile, and I link to somebody else's article in my Twitter profile, and then link my Twitter profile in r/Monero. This is not copy pasting or trying to judge where the source of the material was. It's literally just relinking.
Yeah, okay. And yeah, I agree. But for instance, if it's the second source that is posted about this article and somebody posted the original first, then the second should be removed. But if someone is just genuinely doing that first, it's a bit harsh to just remove it, right?
I mean, if there's a rule against relinking, then you just link the original source, and we can ask them to repost, but not with some sort of middleware, like a bit.ly link in the middle.
Yeah. Just I guess it's clear cut enough. Yes, I agree.
Like it is. This is not like censorship. We're literally asking people, hey, link to the original source as opposed to having something in between, like a referrer. We don't. I don't think that's censorship. That doesn't feel like we're particularly stepping on any sort of grounds that people could take offense to.
Yeah,
unless you can think of a viable reason why relinking makes sense and why we should absolutely allow it. Like, is there any case where you can see where relinking is like 100% viable and there's it's not promotional.
Yes, I can. So
Okay.
in the sense of relinking through Twitter, if someone writes an article and someone posts that article on Twitter, and there's a conversation that happens on Twitter, then linking the Twitter thread, which is in this definition would be relinking because it is linking to something else. It carries with it additional information.
No,
with the
this is different. That would be a thread on the Twitter thread. That is not a thread on the subject of the relinking. Those are two different things.
Yeah, so linking a Twitter thread that links to an article is not relinking.
If the conversation is about the thread, then yes. If it's about the conversation that's on Twitter, then sure, the conversation on Twitter is allowed. But if you're just relinking the thread, then no.
And how you determine what constitutes a conversation? Is there a minimum number of comments required?
No, it's the point of the post. Like if somebody says this post is like an article, or this post is about a thread, like a conversation thread. Like it's clear in the title of the thing that somebody posts what it's about.
Okay.
Ideally, it's clear. I don't think it's always the case.
For what it's worth, in the cryptocurrency subreddit that I moderate also, we take a more aggressive approach than most areas in the Monero community subreddits and other platforms at removing basically news articles and people that are trying to do blatant advertising or are trying to gather attention for stuff they haven't done, or clearly draw attention. Like they might make a Medium post and then the person might make a Twitter account. Like the author of the Medium post might make a Twitter post and then they may link the Twitter that they submit to our cryptocurrency. We do not allow that either, even if it's the same author, because we want people to link directly to the content that is being talked about. We don't want it to be like, we don't want this additional marketing component directly involved in it. So to that end, we have more aggressive filters for websites that are there to relink content. I know Need Money mentioned like Coin Whale News or whatever it was, that literally is just a link of news sites and then they just get ad revenue. But we generally take a stricter approach there to remove content whose main purpose is to be exploitative. And I know that it is in many ways a losing battle. We have to keep adding things to this list. But I think that the subreddit quality has really improved as a result of reducing the prevalence of these posts. So in general, I support like the initial basic step within Monero of saying, if CoinDesk publishes an article and some site is like, hey, CoinDesk published this article, and then links their notification on Monero, I would say, hey, just post directly to the actual article. And that way support that journalist rather than giving money to and attention to someone that just injects themselves in the middle for no purpose. But of course, I agree with Need Money 90 that it's good to have community sentiment on this, to have these discussions. I'm glad that Ziago was able to bring up, like, what if there was a legitimate case where you wanted to link a conversation that happened on some platform that happened to be also a link to other platforms? And I think that's a good discussion to have, so it's good to have those points brought up.
Well, if there's a discussion happening on Reddit and then you tweet a link to the Reddit discussion, you don't need to include a link to the tweet in another Reddit discussion, right? You can just point directly from one Reddit discussion to the other one, right? So there's no justification for indirecting through Twitter for that.
You're saying the flow of information should only stay on one platform, that the flow of information should not deviate and cross to another layer of communication and then come back to the original communication platform. Like Reddit, Twitter, Reddit, it should just go Reddit.
Actually, if I may interject here, I understand what Ziago, what you're trying to get at, that we shouldn't try to restrict the flow of information, but I would actually say yes in response to your question. And the reason being, it's like playing a game of telephone. The more times you whisper into somebody else's ear, the more jarbled the actual message becomes. So the point of something like Reddit, which is an aggregator of information and links, is to link to high quality information, especially because the Monero subreddit is a place where people are going to go for a lot of information about Monero. We want that information to be as high quality as possible. We don't want it to be this game of telephone where a guy is linking to a link to a link to a link to get to that place, because then you're going through like 4 different layers of different people's opinions or twists or turns just to get to the high quality information that you came to find. And that's not, I mean, if people want to start a conversation about that, they're more than welcome to start a conversation about that. And like in their comments section, they can even post to a Twitter thread like you're discussing.
About the conversation. But at that point, it's not about the article that people are linking.
Exactly. If the original intent was to high quality information, then it should come from the source. This is like, I don't know, man. It's like journalism. It's like journalism 101. Like, go find the source, and then you'll get the highest quality information. I mean, like, it's kind of a no-brainer for me. If and this is the thing: if the original intent was to link a high-quality information post, then link that post. The end. Boom.
I agree. Nice and simple.
So I know you scrubs like to keep talking about this kind of stuff, but when am I going to get to talk about my new CCS type thing?
Oh, actually, now is, unless anyone has other comments, I think now is a great time. Need money? Is there anything else you want to discuss on this topic?
Nope, I'm solid.
Okay.
We're approaching the, how many blocks is it now?
We have 7 blocks last time I checked. So we're getting close. We have about
7 blocks.
13 minutes left.
Don't tell anybody,
exciting.
But I haven't downloaded the new software yet.
Just by the way, Boron is 9.5 to 10 out of 10 on the Mohs scale. This is going to be an extremely hard fork.
Ooh. Prepare. And you might want to do that, Diego, after you talk about your CCS, of course.
Yeah, I'll get around to it.
Diego, go for it. Just saying bye now because I will have to leave very soon, and I don't want to interrupt you.
No, Jeremy, no.
But everything will be well. I will see you on the other side.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, thanks so much for joining us, Binary Fate. It's always great to have you on.
Pleasure, guys. See ya.
Okay, so the CCS, the artist formerly known as the Forum Funding System. It was full of spam. To everyone who knows, it was full of spam. It was ugly. It was ancient software. It didn't work. Some things were shadow hidden for some reason. Half the time moderators couldn't do anything because you got that whoops, something went wrong page, and you didn't know what to do from there. So about a year and a half ago, was it like 2 years ago? A long time ago, the core team were, when I redid the website as a whole, they're like, well, one of the things we want to do is revamp the forum funding system, make it a part of the actual website, make it more transparent and all this type of stuff. And so I got to work and I kind of architected a system that was based around Git. And so for transparency's sake, and that utilized a backend as little JavaScript as possible. In this particular case, there is no JavaScript in the community crowdfunding system. So then there's that name tweak, that name change. It's no longer the forum funding system. It is the community crowdfunding system, the CCS. So just so people know what I'm talking about. And it's been a while in the making. There's been a lot of starts and stops. There's been me working on the front end, but then unable to continue until I get some back end stuff implemented and trying to find some people within the community. Started working with some guy from Globy named Devin, and he was great. He laid a great foundation and a good skeleton for it. But then Globy started picking up, and so he wasn't able to help as much. So then contacted different people on over various channels, wondering if PHP devs were willing to help, and I got a few. Once again, big shout out to Crypto Changements. He made the sub addresses, PHP stuff that was integrated, and then Zephon, however you want to. It's spelled with an X. What's that about? Using the X as a Z? You know what I'm saying? Anyway, Zephon you can find him on IRC. He just like finish the rest, and he is fantastic. So if you go to ccs.getmonero.org, you can see it. It uses sub addresses only, so there's no messing around with payment IDs. There's no integrated addresses. It uses sub addresses to keep track of everything. There's a new. It's a little bit more involved. It's getting a proposal up there, but it's not that big a deal because, you know, we want proposers to show a minimum level of competency anyway. It's not just like as simple as proposing any sort of idea for discussion, like on a Reddit or something like that. There's a little bit of a, you know, you have to sign up for the repo.getmonero.org, Monero's GitLab instance, and but I've got step-by-step instructions to help everybody go through it if they wanted to go through it. Take a look at it. It looks really nice. It's very in theme with the getmonero.org website. A lot of similar colors and stuff like that. And there's been a few small tweaks. For example, we used to have ideas and open tasks, and the difference was subtle, but it was there. But the core team, in their infinite wisdom, decided to go ahead and merge those two into one, which is great. Fantastic. Happy days. Simpler for everybody to understand. They don't have to try to understand that subtle difference. And we've got QR codes implemented. Excuse me. We've got QR codes implemented, which people have been asking for a long time. And in fact, you know, the idea is the QR codes are also tappable, because if you're on your mobile phone, like, you can't scan the QR code. So you could tap the QR code and it will open up in the Monero wallet that you have on your phone if you have one, which is kind of cool. So there's a lot of cool stuff, and we are going to be working on over the next couple of weeks. When I say we, I mean mostly me, or any volunteer who wants to help me would be greatly appreciated. We're going to be working on porting over all of the current completed proposals for posterity into this new community crowdfunding system, because the current form is going to be put into read-only mode, and maybe at some point it's going to just be nuked. I don't know. So we just want to keep.
Wait, we're not going. Are we going to preserve any of the advertising posts?
I mean,
like
there's
watches and enlargement pills.
It's true that people really are not going to know where to find their penis enhancement pills, and I deeply mourn for this, because I think Monero in particular, the Monero community, just suffers from this particular problem. But anyway,
overshare.
It may die. So it's not difficult work to port over. It's just time-consuming work. So if anybody wants to volunteer, please let me know. I would be more than happy to accept the help, because otherwise I'm going to spend many long days by myself doing this type of thing. It's basically just putting things on. It's just you know, it's basically copying and pasting the the proposal, the old proposal as is, using the markdown formatting as best you can, type thing, and then putting copying down the milestones and the payout dates and stuff like that, and putting them into their respective places on the markdown file into the front matter. It's not difficult, and once I show you how to do one or two, like it goes really quickly. Well, it's easy to understand, but there's a lot of them to do. So yeah, how many blocks we got left? Go check out the CCS. It's really cool.
We are down to 3 blocks.
Come on, guys. 3 blocks. We can think of something interesting to talk about for 3 blocks, no?
I hope so.
No.
2 blocks.
I forget. 2 blocks.
Other 2. No, there's no. Jane, that was Diego. He's Rar.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay, let's. Okay, we're almost like. We really just need to stall for 6 minutes now. I normally don't plan for an hour and a little bit more content. Any other recent updates that caught your attentions with things going on in Monero? We're down to 2 blocks.
One sec. Let me go and look at the Monero Research Lab. I'm sure they've had some interesting stuff that I can just go and bring up. Oh, they've been doing some work on distributions of spends, but that's they've always been doing that.
Yeah, and I know that Sir Ray has made a lot of leadway recently on
Hey, we're there.
Oh, we're here?
Yeah.
Happy hard fork.
Are we?
All right.
Did it just happen, or is this the last block?
It just happened.
Okay, I'm looking at these websites. I really shouldn't be running a node.
Happy hard fork, everybody.
Yeah, we're there. Woohoo!
Happy hard fork.
That was really quick blocks.
Yeah, we turned on the ASICs.
I told you I needed to get up and make a phone call. I was getting more coffee, but leave it to your imagination.
I haven't even had coffee today. Let's see.
Should maybe wait until we get one more block through, at least.
Yeah. Make sure that there's nobody.
This one might take a few minutes.
Oh, right. It's a new POW. It's not actually done until the last block comes in.
Right. Otherwise, for all we know, the network is just infinitely stalled at the moment.
Reorging.
Reorg. We hope not.
It's going to take another hour and a half to find the next block.
I was kind of worried, actually. I don't know if you guys watched, but in the last couple of hours, the hash rate dropped to 200 mega hashes.
Did it?
1100 to 900-ish. And I was just kind of like, what's happening? But as long as it didn't go down more than half, I wasn't going to sound any alarms.
Well, my miner just sped up, strangely enough.
Strangely?
Want to share the hardware?
It's just running on a Linode with 3 CPUs out of 4.
Do we know what happened with the ledger? Did the guy get his money back? Was there fixed?
That's a great question. I don't think Ledger has made I don't think they make another. Had made another big announcement.
Let me check. I keep asking about it. Like I've seen lots of people asking about this. I'm very happy that the community is kind of like trying to figure out what's happening and how to fix this.
Mm-hmm.
That's very unfortunate.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to find the recent post that was made a day or two ago. I know that people were requesting them for additional comment. They said that some things were patched. I know that was the point of the 0.14.
Yeah, I know it's fixed. But whether it's recoverable is the other question, and that's more what I'm asking about.
Yeah, I think that's. Maybe it was under GUI threat? Let's see if it was under there. Yeah, so they're saying it's patched, which we know, but I don't know much else. Okay. So someone stated or asked a question. Do we have an idea of when version 1.2 will be released on Ledger's end? Because it requires coordination of Monero's updates and Ledger's updates. And one of the crypto devs said that the Ledger devs said that they're expecting it to be ready next week. So that gives people some timeline for spending their funds. Beyond that, I'm struggling to find much more information about what's happening. I really would like to see a sort of post-mortem on their end about what happened, because I think there's still a little bit of confusion here. Need Money, as you were saying, you've been trying to follow this as closely as you can, and there's still certainly some confusion.
Follow what? Sorry, I was reading a different blog.
Yeah, follow the Ledger stuff.
Yeah, no, I keep pinging C/M in the Monero chat and Monero dev, but he hasn't really gotten back to me. I know he said that he was going to take it private with the guy over emails.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I can ping him again, but I'll go bother him.
Can you give a little bit of background on sort of what happened to the best we understand it?
To the best of my understanding, it involved the calculation of the change return address on the ledger. So when the ledger signed the transaction and sent back the signed transaction that contained a change address, the way that it generated it was, I guess, incorrect. I'm not sure if it generated a sub address that was way too far up for scanning, which is what I'm really hoping is what happens, to the point that it's actually recoverable. But the alternative case would be they just totally screwed up the generation of the address and it was sent somewhere unrecoverable, which would be really unfortunate. I'm just hoping that it was a screwed up index on the sub address or something, and they can actually recover it with some sort of carefully crafted transaction. But we have to wait for C/M to weigh in.
Let me go. I'm going to go grab my my Monero node over here in the corner. I'll be back in a second. Check on how the software is handling the latest update.
C/M is not online at the moment.
You all can be entertaining for like a minute, right?
Dude, we have more people watching right now than we did like 20 minutes ago when it was the coffee chat proper. So we are of a high, we need to have a higher caliber of entertainment for these people.
Well, there's 60 viewers now?
Yeah, dude, it's going up, not down. Usually, like sorry guys, we're running overtime and people, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and leave, but we got a bunch of people here and they want to chill out. So
hey guys, how are you doing?
Need Money's gonna rap for you?
No, I don't do that. Yet. I need to practice.
Oh, say can you?
Okay.
Oh wait, not everybody's American. Oh no. I'm just kidding.
Graphs and fireworks. Can we pull up any graphs? Ooh, Isthmus probably has some neat graphs in the MRL. Let me see if I can find some pictures.
Well, you could do some. Yeah. I can do some fireworks.
Yesterday was International Women's Day. We should support the women that are helping out in the Monero community.
But it's not Women's Day today.
That's true.
Oh.
The time for celebration has passed.
Okay.
And when's the last time you asked the gender of anybody else in the community anyway? I don't even know who the women are.
This is very true.
Yeah, I certainly try and be inclusive when referring to individuals that I have no idea what their identity is. But certainly, I know that Monero Outreach, I can link that for the sake of giving people something to do.
Oh, we need to get. Do you think we can get LH on here, or not? Who is it? There are a couple people from Monero Outreach. XMR Halian, was it?
Yeah, he is the one who organizes the Monero Outreach team.
How are we not losing viewership right now? Just
honestly,
rambling, just derping around.
No one has anything to do on a Saturday. Yeah, so I'm just linking in the chat Monero Outreach piece that they wrote about the gender imbalance in blockchain, and it's about it was an interview with something goes by Sun Shakir and Sun Shaker, and she's involved in the Monero community. She really does a lot of the behind-the-scenes work with Monero Talk, and they're interviewing her about how she felt about Monero community in the situation and how we can encourage more women to become a part of cryptocurrency in general, because it's certainly a striking point. Okay. Node's active. Node's fine. No, I don't see a new block yet on my end, at least. But
keep stalling. Keep stalling.
It says the next hard fork is in 1.0 days, which makes sense because the next fork is in 1 day. Apparently, you all are signed up for the next hard fork live stream chat tomorrow, right?
Man, with the number of viewers right now, maybe we just need to make this just a constant chat that's just always ongoing, and people can just tune in.
The 24/7.
24/7.
Yeah. When
My battery won't last that long.
If you're out there and you're watching right now and you want to help the network find a block, you should go ahead and turn on your little derpy gooey miner thing. I don't know. Yeah,
turn on your ASICs. We know that VT Nerd has his ASICs stashed up right now, so he just needs to turn them on temporarily just to help us out with this initial lower hash rate.
Dude, DSC just came in.
Oh yeah.
Hello.
Hey man, how's it going?
The party's getting bigger as we're going on.
How this is 25 minutes past the end, and and people talking than ever.
If they're just early and they're missing daylight savings time or something.
That is today, isn't it?
Is it?
Wait,
no, wait, no,
really?
that's tomorrow.
Spring forward, fall back. Wait. Is it
My
spring
phone just
already?
tells me when to wake up now.
Yeah, no, I don't even. Oh, isn't there discussions on removing daylight savings time in the U.S.? I thought that was a bill that was put up recently.
I don't know about recently, but I certainly would love to see it go. Let's see.
Yeah.
Monero's price action. Just I know that we don't really talk too much about price, but Monero's price action is essentially flat from what I can tell. A 24-hour change of plus.
Monero's a $50 bill. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, honestly. Yeah. Besides a few scare tactics where it will drop down to like 40-ish area, I've been consistently thinking of Monero and Zcash, both of being just $50 bills recently.
You know, the funny thing is when I first came into the community, like I didn't know there was all this stuff about price because Monero never moved from $12, $13 for like months. And so like that, I just came in and I just thought that's what it was. And I didn't go to markets. I didn't hang out in any of like the places where people talk price. So I'm like, all right, like I didn't understand how any of this worked yet. I was still learning. And so I'm like, well, Monero is $12. And then and all of a sudden, yeah. And then all of a sudden it's like $30. I'm like, what is going on? And I'm asking, I go to the IRC, I ask questions like, why is Monero $30? And they think I'm just doing standard price chat. Like what did we do to go up? But I'm actually asking like, what happened? Like, I thought this wasn't what it was supposed to be.
The world today
That's
is not
hilarious.
the same as it was before.
No.
Yeah, the price action is I'm on Kraken right now, just looking at it's pretty flat here.
Get like Carlos on here.
There was yeah.
I would.
I don't
totally
know
hire
what to really
Carlos
talk about
promote
price.
Monero. Like I would fund a forum funding initiative. Sorry, a community crowdfunding system initiative.
You got yourself.
For hiring Carlos Matos to promote Monero.
Just so you know, I was wanting a shorter name for this, but they're like, we want something that's descriptive. So you tell somebody what it is, and like, okay, I can see what that is just from the name. But I was like, I wanted something shorter. You know, I never get to do what I want.
So Diego, now that you're year and a half, 2 years done with this project, what are you actually going to do from now on?
I'm gonna take a vacation. I'm gonna go away 4 months, and I'm just gonna celebrate, not deal with contacting the core team and like poke guys. Can you poke? Can you guys poke?
You're gonna miss us. You're gonna miss us a lot, and probably come crawling back after a week. I know how it works.
I'm actually really
leave.
glad that I could be on this coffee chat with you guys because my wife is gone for the weekend, chilling in Phoenix with my sisters, and like I'm bored.
At least that's what she's telling you.
I mean, yeah, I guess so. They're just getting a whole bunch of organic stuff over there. Just like they went to a restaurant. Anyway, nobody cares about my life, so we're not going to go into that.
You know, the coffee chat's gone too long for talking about
exactly, right? It's like, well, let me tell you guys what I've been up to.
No, I mean, I would love to know more about. I know that the CCS has been a major pain point for you for at least a year, and by that I mean an actual pain point. So
right, I'm a designer and front end worker. I don't touch the back end like for anything, and so Jekyll actually has been awesome for me to work with because it simulates a back end and then just kind of just does the front end. So it's really fun. I really like Jekyll. And so this whole thing is Jekyll based, but there are some PHP components. Yeah, that they're using PHP. There are some PHP components to this, and and everything is open source. You can go onto the repo.getmonero.org and look through all of the code and contribute if you want to, or think that something should be better. But as to what's next
about this community, like
what's
Bitcoin.com
yeah.
or whatever, don't do that. But just everything in this community is like, why don't we open source it?
And you know, the funny thing is that anybody can actually launch their own forum funding system.
Yep.
Like you just set up a box and
you
you
have to trust you. People have to trust you to give you funds.
Well, right.
Now
But you know, like in theory, a charity can kind of crowdfund something on their website and just kind of point to a forum funding system that they set up, and it's not that hard to set up, you know.
Oh, right.
So
I need to tell the counterparty developers about this. They've been looking for a funding system.
And it works and it's wonderful, and you know, all that kind of stuff. You do need a GitLab instance of your own. There's a few prerequisites. I should probably update the documentation with the intention for other people to be able to launch their own in mind, because I don't have that. Like I have the instructions how to deploy it, but we don't have like you need this and this and this and this in addition to. But anyway, hey chat, anybody got any plans for the weekend? No? Oh yeah, we're on a slight delay, huh?
I made a video yesterday.
Yeah, look at you.
Yeah, it's about sense making and how you can use like stories and metaphors and art as a way to communicate complex ideas in the midst of disinformation campaigns in the social network. And sense making is the process of discerning the truth from that information.
It's certainly in line with a lot of the classes that I've taken for my MIS program. And almost every single one of my presentations, they always say, I know you're giving a talk about a technical topic here, but make sure you tell a story about it. The amount of times you hear from people to say, tell a story about something, because it's what people can relate to. I've heard that a million times now. So,
speaking of stories, is this the proper place to shill my fairy tale? No? Okay. If you're interested in reading,
I don't know. You must be doing something well, because you know we have the highest viewership that we've had in a while here.
Right. So Justin promised to read my book, and then he never did. And so
I read 5.
I agree with Board Alchemist. Justin is a liar.
I promised to read your book too. I've only read 1 chapter so far. I need to read more.
It's okay. I forgive you guys.
Hey, if you need a publisher, I can help you with that. But
it's true.
I certainly do need to read it.
Speaking of your publishing company, where is Mastering Monero in terms of digital distribution?
No, that's a great question, actually. So I know we originally promised to get the PDF and the Kindle version out by the end of January. Well, it's March, so it didn't quite happen. So the good news is that besides the cover, the PDF is ready. And besides a few formatting issues with the Kindle version is ready. So the Kindle version took a little bit more work compared to the PDF than we thought. We thought it would be a little bit more similar. That's part of the reason for the delay. But Andres and Baltzar have been working really hard on getting these prepared. So certainly, I want to say certainly, but I don't know if I can. They will be out this month. The PDF will be available completely for free on masteringmonero.com. And the Kindle edition will have some slight expense because it was a good amount of work and a lot of this person's time to put it together. So everyone can get the full PDF with no limitations for free. In addition, there are actually some small version changes. So the original Mastering Monero book referenced Kovri quite a few times. In the latest edition, we're referencing more generically network privacy and some things like that. So we want it to remain a comprehensive tool for people, and part of that means updating with the most accurate information. And those changes will be included in the PDF and Kindle releases. So,
oh dang, Justin, we never talked about client names. Like client, hybrid client, etc.
No, we didn't. And that would have been that would have been a long conversation too. Okay, so this is a great community participation. If you're watching this, make sure you comment, because this is, I would not say it's contentious, but it is a very, it's a topic people have a lot of opinions for. And it's something that we really need to help nail down in the community about how we were. Once I got a notification in my daemon that says, sorry, I'll get back to this wall thing in a second, but I got a notification saying there were 0 blocks in the last 20 minutes. There might be a large hash rate change. There might be large hash rate changes, or we might be partitioned, cut off from the Monero network, or under attack, or it could be just sheer bad luck.
We are under attack, guys.
Yes, you heard it here
Under
first.
attack by the developers.
The developers added this fork that put us under attack. Red alert. Red alert.
I encourage all miners to mine the old chain so we can continue with Monero, with not classic, original. What's another word for this? Old Monero. Monero.
Monero OG.
Monero OG. Monero old. Both are great names.
Monello.
Monello?
Monano. If you go to getmonano.org, which is a real site, you will have a fun time. Getmonano.org. I made it, and it's a lot of fun.
Oh, let me link that for everyone. Getmonano.org. Wait. Something's wrong with. Can you spell that for me, please?
Monano? MONO. MONONO. Get Monano.
Oh, get Monano.
Get Monano.
Does it need to be www?
No, it doesn't. It's not even HTTPS, so like
that's why.
Can happen.
That's why. But we're going to push you to this insecure website where we can steal your Monero. Make sure you go.
Don't download anything from this website.
Yeah, don't. Diego has a ploy to give us all bad binaries here.
Exactly. I'm injecting JavaScript. I'm using JavaScript to look at your histories right now.
So it looks like the Monero price is pretty much unaffected by the recent revelations of an attack.
Well, yeah, nobody can get rid of their Monero.
Yeah, I suppose you can't deposit it on an exchange right now. It's kind of funny. Yeah, I think Get Monano or Monano is pretty awesome. It's
okay. You guys
by the way, we're up to 6 viewers now.
Yeah, I know.
I was gonna say, our viewership is climbing. This is unprecedented. You guys get lives. Go do something, please, so that way we can leave.
So I guess now's a great time. We apparently have hours before we're going to find the next block. We can have a great discussion on what to name Monero wallet. So again, this is a great chance for you to put in. I know some people started commenting, so thank you. But this is a great time for us to have a conversation about what to name common Monero wallets. So you have different wallet types, and we need a better way to identify them.
A diet wallet.
Diet. We needed to know if you think diet wallet is a great name for a wallet. Ultimately, from my point of view, there's several different ways that you can identify wallets that you care about. In my opinion, the most important one is what happens to your wallet keys. So with Bitcoin, we call things custodial wallets or non-custodial wallets. Custodial wallets hold your private key for you. Non-custodial don't. They can't spend your funds. With Monero, we still have custodial wallets and non-custodial wallets, but we also have wallets that keep a view key only for the sake of being more efficient at finding what transactions are yours. But of course, the downside to this is that they do see the transactions that you receive. So we need basically another name to fit in here. And I personally proposed full for something that doesn't give away any keys, an efficient wallet that does give away the view key, and a custodial wallet that gives away the private key. And now is your chance to help us name some of these terms. Also, we also have to figure out how you connect to a node. Do you have a local node on your computer? What do we call that? What if you connect to a remote node? Do we have different names, whether it's a remote node that you run versus nodes that someone else that's random is running? What if you're giving away your view key to a server that you're running compared to a server that someone else is running? So it gets complicated pretty fast in how we handle these terms. And even on top of that, we can add another layer to say, okay, well, what if you're connecting to a remote node over I2P? Do we call it something else then? So a lot of different considerations. I can link the GitHub issue here, but certainly, even if there is GitHub, it's on the meta, even if we decide that, okay, this technical classification is probably too much for how to refer to wallets by normal users, I think it's important to have a way to indicate, like from a technical perspective, to be really specific, this is exactly what I mean, rather than using terms like full or lightweight that can mean a wide variety.
2 minutes, I'll be right back.
Diego, do you have any comments on this? What do you want to call your wallets?
For the past 5 minutes. Oh, wallet names. Okay, yes. So I actually have given this a little bit of thought. And what was really eye-opening was like the table, the matrix that you guys made of like, okay, what are you connected over ClearNet? Are you connected over Tor? Do you have your view key? Did you give away your view key? And I'm like, Monero sucks. I mean, it's the worst, but it's the best that we have. And I really think the unfortunate, so even like, here's the issue. When we use something like custodial wallet, this assumes that the person understands what custodial means. If you understand how blockchain works, that custodial means somebody is holding your keys for you. Okay, that makes sense. But to the common person, like custodial, that if you tell them, well, do you want to use a custodial wallet or do you want to use a full wallet? And they're like, I have no. The name is not intuitive. The names that we have right now don't tell anybody anything about how safe they are. And I completely realize that it is a nigh impossible task to sum up all of the intricacies and nuance of how the trade-offs that you're making in one word. But I'm not sold personally on any of these names because I can't imagine telling somebody completely new, this is a custodial wallet, this is a full wallet, this is a remote node. Like, they don't know what any of that stuff is. I want to give them, I want to recommend the most private, the most secure thing by default. But I know that, like, for a lot of people, that's going to be a massive hassle and stuff. So I want the naming to be self-explanatory. I want the naming to be intuitive. I'm a UX guy, you know, and this is just this is critical. This is critical to get right. And if we don't get this right, then nothing's going to make sense for all of these people. So I don't have any hard and fast opinions about how, like, it should be named this, and here's why. But I am just not sold on the current naming scheme. That's my opinion.
I think that it's important to make understood that there's two different ways we can have conversations about naming wallets. We can say, okay, you're a user that doesn't know anything about Monero. How do we explain this to you? And then on the other end, we can say, okay, we're doing research on the effects of specific ways that wallets connect, are used, etc. And I think that warrants a specific nomenclature, but we don't necessarily need to reuse that the same way for average users. Like, we don't necessarily need to call, what were some of the terms I was throwing around here as pretty technical things? I was calling like Monero, like a full remote wallet or a full remote hidden wallet, or there's like 3 words that you basically need to convey the idea. And it starts to become pretty complex. Or like for example, if you're running your own, if you have a full wallet that keeps all the keys And if you are connecting to someone else's remote node, do we want to say you're using a full remote borrowed wallet? Like that gets complicated and not very useful for normal people. So I certainly think that there's a lot of nuance in this conversation about how we can best define these. But I think that we certainly have an additional layer of complexity compared to Bitcoin because we have to deal with how we talk about the view key. And just a quick update, we are still at the exact same block number that we were before. So no change at all there.
Did we break Monero?
I told you it's under attack.
Is this the episode of Breaking Monero, but like for real?
Breaking Monero for real edition. Everything else was just in preparation, getting you warmed up to the idea of Monero being compromised.
This time it's been broken by experts.
I'm getting other warnings here saying that there were, I'm getting a warning that says now there were 23 blocks in the last 90 minutes saying there might be hard rate. It's basically the same exact warning, but it's saying something about the longer time horizon now. So Monero developers think ahead, add several checks based off different time amounts. So I'm trying to find other.
Yeah, I think the idea of like naming wallets is a complex idea because even calling cryptocurrency things that hold your digital signature for cryptocurrency, calling them wallets is misleading because they're not physical, right? There's no coin. So like there could be a better figure a way to even like improve on that because many people don't understand like, oh, this is a digital coin that I hold in a digital wallet. Like it's not physical. That it doesn't make sense for most people.
What would you recommend calling it instead of a wallet then? Just a way for people to connect with the network.
I don't know. It's a good question.
Keychain.
Keychain.
How about a checkbook?
Monero checkbook?
Yeah, I mean, it's a ledger, right? I mean, the whole thing's a ledger.
Yeah, there has to be a way to convey like the fact that you don't actually have your Monero in your wallet. It really is a key that you go to the blockchain, which is like a lockbox. You know which lockbox is yours. You turn the key, and then you can move it to another lockbox, but you can't take it home, so to speak, right? So that way, like if we could convey this, then that solves a lot of problems because then people like if there's something happens to their wallet, they're like, well, did I lose my Monero? Well, that depends. Do you still have your key? Yes, then you can access your lockbox. No, then you can't access your lockbox. Don't lose your key to your lockbox. It really is.
We're up 73 viewers.
Guys, go away.
I want to get some dinner. Jeez. So yeah, call it a safe deposit box then. I mean.
I like. Let me think about this a little bit. I'll get back to you guys in a year.
You can all be back. I'm going to use the restroom.
I like keychain actually. I do kind of like keychain. I mean, do I? I kind of do.
We already have keychain in common use as something that holds a bunch of your private keys.
Yeah, I know. That's why I mentioned it.
So this isn't a keychain itself. It's a key that you would stick on your keychain.
It's true.
No, the wallet is a keychain.
Why?
That's the software holds your keys.
But it doesn't.
And it interfaces with your keys.
Yeah, the software doesn't have your key at all. You have your key in your head or on a piece of paper, and you input it to run the software. But that's it.
Right. The software interfaces with the keys that are on your system.
So it's like a key hand.
In the same way that the wallet in real life interfaces with the dollars by holding them.
So it's like the organism that holds your keys and uses them.
What do you think, chat? What do you think?
Your Monero agent. And that's what it is in a
Yeah.
in
Your
a
Monero
computer science sense. It's like it's literally the agent that interacts with the blockchain and takes your keys and does your stuff. Demon. It's definitely a demon.
Your
No,
Monero,
that's the word.
it's your Monero assistant. You tell it what to do with the Monero, and it tells the blockchain what to do.
No, we solved it, guys. It's a Monero demon. It's a perfect name for it.
Ooh, can we? It's a demon. That sounds.
We got it. Got it solved.
We need to call. We need to call in the church of. We need to call in the Church of Monero for the demons.
Exorcism.
Exorcisms.
No, Daemon. That's already.
I know. I know how it's spelled.
To those of you who are just tuning in, because apparently there are many of you, we are waiting for the first block to be mined after Monero's recent hard fork that apparently that occurred a few minutes ago. We're just waiting on the network to mine another block. It's been quite a few minutes now, so certainly the hash rate has dropped as a result of the change. So if you have a miner and can help out, certainly start that up and get moving along.
I do have a miner, but it's in the other room, and I don't know if I want to turn it on. You know?
Diego, you could solo mine the next block.
Oh my gosh!
I'm
It's
gonna
so
mine
true.
it by hand. I want to do the
could.
calculations by hand.
You gotta do it. You gotta do it with the. You gotta flip, like in the old days of ancient computing, where you would kind of flip the switches for the binary on, off, and then press the button to send it to the computer. That's how you got to do it per hash.
Can we use an abacus? One of those, you know, those like sliding scale things.
So
You know what's
cool-
sad is when we're discussing actual content, we have like 20 viewers, and then now we're just derping around and just waiting, and you got 74 people waiting with us.
For some reason.
Yeah, all you guys got to turn your miners on. The pool that I'm mining on is only got 1/5 of the miners connected as it had before the fork.
Ooh. Oof.
All my botnets were kicked. Sorry.
Dude, you know what we can do? Like I got this cool mic for like $40 at a used pawn shop.
Is it on the ceiling?
No, it's on a little arm thingy, but it's like a $250 mic. But I tell you this because we can just be doing some ASMR in here. You know what I'm saying? While people are waiting. Never mind. No, nobody thinks it's a good idea.
ASMR.
What's up?
Yeah, Monero ASMR.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
if you
give it another hour, and we'll probably try
Diego
that.
whisper.
What about some beatboxing?
See,
Oh,
exactly.
there
Yeah. DSC was there. I was beatboxing through C3 in the times when we needed to have when there was delays between talks and stuff like that. I was trying to keep people entertained.
Yeah, that was
The
great,
Monero
man.
show, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's talk. Okay, let's talk real quick about things like DEF CON. Speaking of C3, so like we've got
Conferenzo. Oh
yeah,
man,
we got Conferenzo and DEF CON and then next C3 and who's planning on going to any of the above, the big
definitely
three.
Conferenzo. Like I'm gonna be trying to get there. Am I gonna see you there?
The Conferenzo?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be there probably, yeah.
Yeah, I'm supposed to be there too. I believe I'm giving a talk on proof of work algorithms.
Awesome. Yeah, I will be if I am available. I still unfortunately do not know, but if I am available, I will be there.
I do not have the funds to go to the Conferenzo, so I will not be going
No.
unless the market goes up.
What about DEF CON? DEF CON was a lot of fun last time.
It was a lot of fun. We didn't even realize that there was a cooler of beer in the back that was free that none of us used, so it could have been even more fun.
Anybody planning on going to DEF CON? No?
Again, if I'm available, yes.
I'll go, I think.
There you go. See? DSC's coming. It's a
Are-
party now. You guys have to come.
Now I have to go.
Are we gonna host a village again, or what?
Yes.
Yes. Well, it is not 100% confirmed, but it is looking very likely that we will get a village, and possible that we will be getting a bigger space, non-co-hosted.
Yes. So to give
But
a little
I don't
bit
want
more-
to. Yeah, I don't want to speak out of turn. So like that, none of that is confirmed in any way, shape, or form.
Mhm. DEF CON has several revisions where they propose villages and change rooms and whatever else. And the Monero with its own village in a slightly bigger space, but again, it's completely owned space this time, was proposed in the initial version and has survived every iteration since. So it seems like we will have our own entire Monero specific village that's a little bit larger, but again, there's no permanent confirmation yet.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited.
And we're probably going to try to bring our own sound equipment to avoid what happened last time. HYC gave a brilliant talk that was standing room only and very difficult to hear because DEF CON was not on point with getting us our speakers. It was a very funny story because then Sean Coughlin, who has been working with Kavri and various Monero things, he went to Best Buy to pick up a speaker just so we could have something, like a little derpy one, but just so we could have something. And then they got back, but there was no power cord inside of the box in the brand new speaker that they purchased. It's really sad. So they did their best. Anyway, if this silence doesn't indicate that we should all go home.
Right now.
Hey,
it
we can
looks
still
like
talk
about
about the
110
Confranco.
megahashes.
Yeah, that's true. The confidential.
Currently, it looks like, according to Mining Pool Stats, Monero has about 110 megahashes for the new algo at the moment.
Whoa.
100. That's a 90% drop, or 80 to 90% drop.
Yeah, at the moment, that's only the hash currently on pools. If you're solo mining and whatever, it's not being applied to that. But this is the self-reported pool mining hashes summed up.
Yikes. Well, we'll have a few rough days, and then we will, and then it'll be very profitable for individual miners.
If you are waiting to get your transactions in there, I would not recommend. I would recommend putting a higher fee.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep track of the transaction pool. So I'm on XMR chain right now, which something happened as I refresh this page.
I'm on the XMR.2 one just because on IRC somebody said that XMR chain was still on the old version.
It hasn't recorded the latest block. Let me check the XMR.2 Explorer.
So it looks like the two biggest mining pools before, both in China, have fallen off the top pool list.
Interesting.
That is fascinating.
That's curious. I wonder why. Maybe other GPU miners decided to go switch to ETH or something.
Yes. You're sorry, just interrupting with this mainnet thing. Yes, they this one is on version 10. It's on version 10. And they currently have 49 transactions in the mempool.
Do you think China had ASICs?
I don't think so. I think it was a rumor that was spread by Need Money 90. He was trying to do a hostile takeover of Monero.
Oh, you got me.
I'm getting subsequent warnings from the daemon where it has the warning for X blocks in the last 90 minutes. And every 2 minutes or so, I'm getting another warning with fewer and fewer blocks made in the last 90 minutes. So it started off at like 22, now it's down to 19.
Yeah, the time window keeps advancing, and the number of blocks in that window is, decreasing.
Yes. Well, hopefully we find the block soon.
Isn't technically the most profitable thing to do right now to just rehash the top block or two and take the fee for yourself as opposed to mining the next one?
If you find the subsequent block, then I would say yes. You'd have to find the next block, though, right?
Well, yeah, but the payoff is higher. No, the difficulty is the same.
Yeah, the
Yeah, the
difficulty of the
difficulty is the
current block is the same. The
Right,
one that
so,
everyone.
I mean, adding 2 minutes in a cumulative.
Yeah,
many
that might be a
potential
good.
hours to. So like the 2 minutes for the old block plus the cumulative several hours of this upcoming block, like you could probably do that and take that money for yourself and do a little itty bitty attack there. This is very interesting. That's very interesting. Need money.
Yeah, if everyone's struggling to mine this block and it's basically no one has a chance, your incremental loss of going back a block or two is much lower. It's pretty interesting.
Ken Greiner says, yeah, I saw this coming. I don't know if he means about the rambling or about the mining situation. If it's about the mining situation, I think everybody saw it coming. If it's about the rambling, I too want it to be over. So I actually, it is 12 o'clock. I am hungry. I may call it quits and leave you guys to your... I know I was late to the coffee chat proper, but I believe I have more than made penance.
You've been on here more than an hour.
Exactly. So nobody can yell at me. But wish you all luck if you choose to continue. Love you all. You're beautiful people.
Hey, bye.
Yeah, I understand.
Count is down to 65.
See you, Ray.
I think I'm going to bail out too. I need to grab some dinner.
Yeah,
Enjoy.
I'll follow the Reddit live thread. This is probably a good time to head out.
Yep. Okay. Thanks everyone who made it with us so far. I know that this is quite a long, it's basically a 2-hour coffee chat, and we lost the participants before we lost the viewers. So we appreciate your time here. Hopefully that it was useful for you, and we covered a variety of interesting topics, including the time that we spent this past hour just essentially filling time. But hopefully we can mine this block. It certainly looks like the hash rate has dropped significantly given the amount of time and the pool reported hash rate. So if you do have miners, now is a good time to consider bringing them back online, because it likely, as soon as the difficulty adjusts, you likely will have a good profitable period as other users are maybe a little bit slower to switch over. Yeah, I suppose make sure to hang out on Reddit. I'll be in the Monero community IRC channel. We'll be still going up, go back and forth, keeping up to date. And we appreciate you joining us for this month's coffee chat. See you again.
This was a great coffee chat. Thanks, Justin.
Yep. See you again next month. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye.